The contract. The common man need not know the perfect language of the legal system to defend him or herself in life. They do not need to know statutes, codes, acts, stage productions, ordinances, policies, societies, bylaws, color of law. All of these constructs exist only by contract, and they apply only to employees. For those engaged in a government plot, all principals, agents, and allies. One need only know thyself and who they are. In regards to the system and who the system is, with regard to any conscious being that is not in contract with them. The contract must meet all elements of the agreement without fraud, cohesion, or deception, and full disclosure, and have understanding with a meeting of the minds between at least two conscious beings, and there must be valuable consideration. If all these elements are present, then all the government or courts must do is produce that contract. And if you have failed to perform upon the terms of your agreements, or violated those agreements, then they have the authority to hold you to it by force if necessary. But if there was no meeting of the minds or cohesion, etc., to enter into a contract with anyone, if there is no record of consideration or obligation to perform, tyranny is all that remains. It is fraud and it is void, ab initio, from the beginning, as if it didn't exist at all. And by exposing the fraud will render any and all contracts null and void, non pro tunc. Fact. The courts create fictional joinder by you answering to a fictional DBA, doing business as their constructed trust, using your likeness, taken from your birth record as an agreement to act in their corpse playouts, which renders you non compos mentis, unable to speak for yourself. You must follow the scripted contract and perform terms of art. You are an imbecile and a ward of the court. An attempt to revive an aborted fetus, the placenta, the DNA, your blood language. One must ask them questions only, never answer theirs. Who are you? And who do you work for? And who do they work for? And so on. Do you recognize me? If someone demands to know who you are, it would stand to reason they do not know you or recognize you. And chances are you don't recognize or know them either. Yet the honorable way to deal with the forced or advances of misplaced authority would be to accept, as there must be a contract they are acting upon, and accept it for value, and offer to make good on it soon as they produce it and allow you to inspect it, so you may be clear about the terms to which you agreed to, and perform according to those terms. Or perhaps they have a mistaken identity. Allow them that way out to remain in honor for both you and them. Otherwise, they will attempt to construct a public trust in your likeness, your name, your corporation, your DBA, doing business as their rules of engagement must involve interfaceable legal entities. They may not bring a living being into their courts or charge a living man or woman, only a corporation. That is why they're called habeas corpus. Produce the body, the evidence, the corpse. If it does not exist in nature, it is not law. There is no need for borders, nations, war, and money in nature. It does not recognize government badges. One may not contract with the wind or the sunlight. And to simplify things, basically everything legal is fiction. So unless you have two conscious beings, there cannot be a legitimate or binding contract. Therefore a contract between the living and the dead cannot be, and does not, and never will, exist. No laws passed after 1812 are valid. Wake up, people. Article 13, the Nobility Amendment, is in fact abundantly proven, recorded and published, demonstrates clearly, beyond any hope of a doubt, that the foreign temple bar, Middle Temple, Inns of the Court, agents of the City of London. The Vatican is foreign, with a title of nobility. They took an oath to serve the Crown Corporation equals corpse. Their oath that accompanies that great such a title requires strict allegiance to the codes of the bar, Middle Temple. An attorney's first obligation is not to his client, but to the foreign corporate court. They are absolutely forbidden from holding any office of trust.
Organic living being, if you can call yourself a true organic living being of light, with intent on peace and love for all living matter. And who knows who you are, you will feel this within the depth of your divine soul. Whereas these so-called laws that we have had to endure and to enslave us are not true or just, and have only been put in place to limit and divide us. Only there for employees of the Crown Corporation and members of the Temple Bar in the 1 square mile, London State, and were introduced to us in a time long forgotten by non-human entities, claiming they were our ascended masters, which was all a lie, and again keeping us, organic humans, from knowing quite the opposite, as we are multidimensional beings, and the only ones that can ascend to that status on our Mother Earth. So once we wake up and become more conscious, only then will this hierarchy illusion of separation start to dissipate, when we unite as one power with all that is, returning us to our true peace and harmony with the surrounding universe. This is their only fear, and I can tell you, we have won, and the dark is now fading away. Feel freed from any fear, as we can now see with open hearts, though all the lies and deception, which is their laws of the sea and commerce. So again, I will remind you, there is no real contracts that exist, which are all through deception, constitutes fraud, whereas, you have been tricked by their language of legalese into committing fraud unto yourself. So if you are indeed a living conscious being, think about this, and stay in honor to your Creator, and you will be safe when the final hammer strikes the finishing blow. Thank you, my friends. I hope you now feel more empowered. Now you understand who you are and who you are not, and where your allegiance lies.